Alright everyone, hello. Hello. I say everyone. It's like Nightbot's in here. It's not really a whole lot, but you know. Alright. Something I wanted to do is I wanted to go over the new Final Fantasy information that we got for the new universes beyond for Magic the Gathering. If you had to react to it, I haven't seen a whole lot. I've seen some stuff, you know, here and there. I've had some friends tell me some things I know about Cactar. And yeah, I've seen the Commander precons too. Like I've seen the commanders for the precons: Cloud, Tidus, Terra, and the character from Final Fantasy 14. I don't remember her name. Her name seemed more complicated than, like, you know, Tidus, Terra, Cloud. So yeah, figured might as well just jump right into it.
Hello and welcome to maybe our biggest show ever. This is Weekly MTG, and this is also our first look, and your first look, at Magic the Gathering's Final Fantasy Universes Beyond set. I'm your host, Blake Rasmussen, but I'm going to mostly stay out of the way today because as excited as you might be for this set, and we know there's a ton of excitement out there, these two gentlemen to my left are probably more excited. They've been chomping at the bit to tell you about this set for so long. So we're no further ado. Let's hear from you guys.
Well, everybody,
this guy's not gonna be talking
it's
much
time.
We can cover him up.
Welcome to Final Fantasy meets Magic the Gathering. This has been years and years and years in the making. I think we started working on the set in 2021, and we started talking about it even before that. We've put so much time and energy and love into this, and I cannot wait for you to see what's going on today.
Yeah, I've had the chance to work on this set for 4 years, and it's been a dream come true for myself and many other people in the building. The passion, the energy, the excitement from our game design team, our art director team, everyone that's touched the product in any way has just been an amazing journey over the last 4 years, even to the extent of like random executives chasing me down in the hallway and asking like, what does Chocobo do? Like, what are we doing? So everyone, like the passion and excitement from everyone here at Wizards has been so palpable for so long. So I'm so excited to share it with everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been a Final Fantasy player for almost my whole life. Like the first game I ever bought with some help from my parents was Final Fantasy 1, right? That really got me going. And
the help of my parents,
now
what
to
does that
actually
mean?
To work on the set
Means
is
they bought it
incredible.
for 'em.
And also get to work with Square Enix was unbelievable. Like these are the people.
But something you said that reminded me of something like the Chocobos. I also know that they have the Chocobo Racing series, which is going to be like their new event that they have to promote people to play drafts, where you can win points to get cards and stuff like that. So
that make this game and this franchise that I love so much. And we worked hand in hand. It was really an authentic collaboration. Like we went over there many times. We play tested with them. We showed them the cards. We saw some people who'd worked on the earlier games, see cards that we had made. It was an incredible experience. And it's really something special. For me, it is the most special Magic set I've ever worked on, and it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're quickly here just going to show a video. For fans who may have missed some of the announcements from yesterday, there was an article that went live talking about the Commander decks that were released, which was very exciting, as well as the announcement of Yoshitaka Amano being involved creatively with the project, which we're very excited about.
We knew we had to do that.
Yeah,
right? That was critical.
It had to be done. So.
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to show you a little video here in a second. It's going to run you through a ton of cards. You see a ton of cards in a very short amount of time. But stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back and talk about all the cards. You're going to have some questions, I'm sure.
Honestly, it's not their job, so they're not really supposed to. Even at MagicCon, the game designers kind of had really bad stage
show you the
presence,
video,
I guess we'll say.
And everybody, welcome to Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy.
Welcome to the first look at Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy. The legends from 16 games are represented in this set, which includes 4 Commander decks. Featured in the 4 decks are Terra, Herald of Hope from Final Fantasy VI.
Alright, let's just read it over. Like I said, I've seen these. Well, let's just read them over. Why not? Terra, Herald of Hope. Unless this guy's gonna do it. Probably not, right?
Cloud.
No. Okay. back up. Let's try to look at one. Well,
decks are
let's
Terra,
wait till it says
Herald
all
of
of them,
Hope
because they'll set
from
them all
Final
lined up
Fantasy
next to each
VI,
other.
Cloud X Soldier from Final Fantasy VII, Tidus,
Never
Yuna's
heard of
Guardian
him.
from Final Fantasy X,
Never heard of him either.
and Y'shtola Knights Blessed from Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, obviously. All right. Well, let's take a look at these cards. I'll move my freaking head out of the way as necessary. We'll start over here. First one, Terra, Herald of Hope, red, white, black. Legendary creature, human, wizard, warrior. Wow. Who would have thought legendary is the commander? Impossible. Her ability, Trance. The beginning of combat on your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now I already run a red, white, black deck in Edgar Markov, so I don't know if I'll use her, but I do find this like this sounds like a cute ability. It's like a bunch of like really small things, and I know like obviously like people are gonna, I don't know, I feel like if I would do this just for like the flavor of everything, I think I'd probably like use like cute creatures or something. I don't know. Cloud X Soldier, 2 colorless, red, green, white. Legendary creature, human, soldier, mercenary. I saw a post where it was like, oh, it says X Soldier, but he's a soldier type. Awful, terrible flavor, immersion ruined, was what the post said, and I'm like jokingly agreeing with it. I mean, the post was a joke. Anyway, haste. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to it. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. Obviously like a Voltron type of commander. Makes sense. It seems like a pretty straightforward. I'm curious what's going to come in like all the decks, because maybe they announced that in here, like at least like some of the cards that come in. I'd be kind of surprised, but maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I've never made a Voltron deck, so I don't have a lot of experience in that realm, but you know, I guess we'll sort of just have to see what happens there. Tidus, Yuna's Guardian. Aw, how cute. Green, white, blue. Legendary creature, human warrior. Let me just move this over here so I don't forget for one. And you can see all of Tidusness. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. There's probably some very interesting play around that. I actually just constructed a Baral, I don't know, the blue guy who is used for like counter decks, and so I have some, and by counters I mean counter spells, not like counters as in count whatever. But I might try to I could see myself kind of using this, so I'm trying to get something else in these colors. I don't like remaking decks with like the same colors. Like I don't know, just not super interesting to me. I might end up doing it because I don't know. I probably won't even touch any of these cards if I'm being perfectly honest. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, then proliferate. Do this only once each turn. Honestly, reading these abilities just right out loud, this one sounds like the best. I haven't gotten to this one yet, but this one kind of like sounds like it just feels like it has the most, like, except for, I don't even want to say except for Cloud. I guess I should just read Y'shtola. I don't know how you pronounce her name. Y'shtola Knights Blessed, 1 colorless, white, blue, black. Vigilance. At the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 more life this turn, you draw a card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage for each opponent, and you gain 2 life. So it's kind of like, it seems like you're supposed to try to cast non-creature spells with mana value 3 or greater, cast 2 of them, then you're able to draw a card at the end of your turn. In Esper and white, blue, black, I guess I really don't know too much about like what their strategies are, because the only one that sort of like comes to my mind is the one my friend Sean runs, which is just about stealing people's stuff and then giving them different stuff. It's I wouldn't imagine this. Well, I guess enchantments and artifacts are non-creature spells, so I don't know, maybe. But Cloud and Tidus seem like the most like direct in terms of like what they do and how you would sort of like utilize them, the most obvious in that sort of way. Terra and Ishtal, it seems like Ishtala, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It feels like they could probably get some maybe some interesting things going on, but they're, I don't know, these abilities, their abilities seem kind of clunky for me. I just like Terra's art the most, I think, and honestly, I like both their arts like way more than I like these arts, I think. This art, the art for Tidus, there's something about it looks kind of like AI-ish to me. I don't know what it is.
Which card will command your deck?
Probably none of them.
In this set, you'll find...
And then there's Jumbo Cactuar, who has the ability 10,000 Needles. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets 9,999 plus 0 till end of turn, which, great flavor, hilarious, feels pretty busted. It's just straight up like Death Touch with, it's like trample. It's like if you it's, I mean, I guess you would just say it's Death Touch, right? It's basically just Death Touch for a player. If this touches a player, pretty much is just gonna kill them. Like I mean, like I've had life gain decks where I've had more than that, right? I mean, I guess you could probably make some token decks where you're getting making way more than that too. Like I guess, but it's just not the way the game is designed. The game is designed for this to just kill you. Again, I like the flavor. It's just this is such an absurd card. But I'll probably
find the boss monsters you love from Final Fantasy, like on this Jumbo Cactuar card, and this Sin Spira's Punishment.
I think I saw a picture of this for like a second, but I didn't read what it did at all. So Sin Spira's Punishment. 4 colorless, black, green, blue. Legendary creature, Leviathan Avatar, flying. Whenever Sin enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random, then create a tapped token that's a copy of that card. If the exiled card is a land card, repeat this process. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting ability. I really like making copies of things. It's probably one of my most favorite things to do. So I hear this and I'm like, that sounds like that could be really freaking nuts. I don't know how I would apply that because it feels, the randomness is not great, but
Punishment card. And the whimsy of Final Fantasy is here.
Aww. Tonberries. This creature enters tapped with a sun counter on it. Okay. Chef's Knife. During your turn, this creature has first strike and Death Touch. Oh, that's cool, I guess.
Here too. Check out these Tonberry, Stiltskin Moogle
Aw. These are cute. Stiltskin Moogle Merchant, lifelink. Pay 2, tap. Target opponent gains control of another target permanent you control. God damn it. No, I was gonna jump into their. I was gonna jump into a friend's Discord, but I don't know what they're talking about. I don't want to do that. But I'm gonna tell him. Tell Sean, be like, hey, have you seen? This is literally what his deck does. It's actually gonna make his deck way easier. That card's brutal.
Merchant and Saz's Chocobo cards.
Aww. Landfall, I need that. Whenever a land you control enters, put a 1 counter on this creature. Yeah, I mean, I have a landfall deck. I mean, I would just be doing it because it's cute. But I'm in a 1-drop for a 1/1.
Double-faced cards show
Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Legendary creature, human knight. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil one. Okay, it's not bad. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield, transformed, or only as a sorcery. This
character progression or different forms of the same creature. For example, Garland, Knight of Cornelia, becomes Chaos the Endless with matched increase.
Okay, it dies. Put it on the bottom of its owner's library.
That's
not
power
even like
and
an
toughness.
interesting. I mean, like it's an uncommon. It's not like anything great, but it's just like not.
Cecil
super
Dark
awesome,
Knight
really.
and Cecil Redeemed Paladin reflect Cecil's journey in Final Fantasy.
All right, chill. Give me a second. Cecil Dark Knight. Death Touch, Darkness. Whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. Okay, that's a super interesting ability. Then if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil and transform it. Lifelink. Whenever Cecil attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Oh. That's... Wow, a 1-drop. Super interesting. That's a fun ability.
4. This Emmett Selk Unsundered card becomes Hades, Sorcerer of Eld, when turned to its opposite side.
Is there not like a alt art of those? I guess not. Vigilance. Whenever Emmett Selch enters or attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may okay, straightforward enough. Blue-black, I mean, that's mill. Vigilance. Echo of the Lost. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. Okay. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from okay. That's good.
With side quests,
Side quest, catch a fish. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's an artifact or creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you put a card into your hand this way,
catch a fish. You can go fishing, then turn the card over and cook the fish with
cooking campsite. Is this the character looks familiar, but I don't know.
Card. New in this set are summons, shown here on this Shiva card.
Okay, summons are sagas. That makes sense. Oh, that art's super pretty. Both arts are actually pretty nice. Heavenly Strike. Tap target creature and opponent controls. Put a stun counter on it. Okay, it's its first 2 lures, whatever they're called. 3. Draw a card for each tapped creature you control. Your opponent's control. Oh, that's like a nice little self-contained thing.
Summons.
This actually makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's a fight. Like, I mean, this card isn't particularly good, but that is how summons should work, where they have like lore counters on them, and then
Are saga creatures that combine features of a saga and a creature, so you can go through the steps of the saga and attack or defend at the same time.
That's how summons should work.
The Final Fantasy Through the Ages bonus sheet.
Dragon of Mount Golg. That's a funny name. Flying whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20, you create a number of treasure tokens equal to... Oh, it's Ancient Copper Dragon. Yeah, if I had just seen where it said Ancient Copper Dragon, I wouldn't have
well-known
read
art
anything
from
else.
Final Fantasy's history. Dragon at Mount Gulg features art by Yoshitaka Amano. And Yuffie Kisaragi shows art from Tetsuya Nomura. You'll find these favorites and more you love from Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 16.
Nice.
Sephiroth Planet's Heir. And
I might buy this if I can find it. Because everything's like, oh, it's all sold out. Oh, son of a biatch. We're already like 20 minutes in? How? That's... Wait, no. There's no way. Okay, no. We weren't. I was like... Okay...
or defend at the same time. The Final Fantasy Through the Ages bonus sheet features well-known art from Final Fantasy's history. Dragon at Mount Gulg features art by Yoshitaka Amano, and Yuffie Kisaragi shows art from Tetsuya Nomura. You'll find these favorites and more you love from Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 16. Sephiroth Planet's Heir and Cloud Planet's Champion cards face off and ready to play decks from the
I'll probably get this just because I want the Sephiroth card for my ninja deck. Vigilance. When Sephiroth enters creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn, so that can in a way be a board wipe, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put on 1 counter on Sephiroth. And I guess I'd have to look and see what would replace that, but I do like that ability. And then Cloud, planet's champion. During your turn, as long as Cloud is equipped, it is just double struck and indestructible. Equip abilities you activate that target Cloud cost 2 less to activate.
Starter kit. Check them out.
Again, it's another Voltron thing.
All of this and more in Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy.
There's so much stuff.
Available June 13th. Shape your Magic story.
So many people are upset that this like thing is happening, and I'm just like,
and welcome.
If they're gonna do like a Universes Beyond where they're working with like another company to create like Final Fantasy is the one that feels like it matches Magic the Gathering, but is also not something that's like totally like within their space, right? Like, there was like a Dungeons and Dragons one, which is like, well, obviously it's gonna feel like the same space because they're both done by Wizards of the Coast, but it's like I'm trying to think of like another fantasy role-playing thing where it doesn't feel like, you know, you're just like that they could work like if there was like an Elder Scrolls one, it's like, okay, well that's cool, but like everything already feels Elder Scrolls-y, like because that's just the nature of what like RPGs are. But to go with like Final Fantasy, the magic in there still feels like it could be a plane or something that's in Magic the Gathering, but like, you know, it's like different, and it's like all different, so it's gonna still feel different, it's gonna feel new, to me, I think it's gonna feel like it fits really well, you know, because that's effectively what people are complaining about. Like I know that there's like the SpongeBob ones, like the SpongeBob Secret Lair drop stuff, like that does feel like a little strange, really like out of like left field. If they want to do it, they can do it. Like, I mean, I don't care. I understand people feeling like that doesn't feel like Magic to me, because I mean, it really isn't. But
really short amount of time, and so we are going to spend the rest of this show. Well, I mean, these guys are going to be gushing for quite a bit of it, but also talking about behind the scenes, how these cards came to be,
like
new treatments, art styles, just everything. We're going to unpack everything you just saw over the next hour. And
I feel like this dude said he wasn't going to be talking all that much, and he's like easily been talking the most.
Start by first, they were so excited they didn't even give their names when we started. So let's
It's Final Fantasy Day. It's Final Fantasy Day. You know? Everyone's so excited.
So before we dive into everything, who are you and what did you do on the set?
Hey, I'm Gavin Verhey. I was the lead set designer on Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, which is a huge honor. Really amazing to work on it. I also want to give a huge shout out to the rest of the design team, Daniel Holt, who led the Commander decks, not on the stream today, and Yanni Skolnick, who led Vision Design. Of course, it was a huge effort across the whole company, but from the design side of things, these folks are the ones that really drove the whole thing forward and made something incredible.
Awesome. And I'm Zakil Gordon. I was the executive producer of the set, doing everything from product design to working with all the teams involved. Obviously, the design team, also our creative team. Shout out to Dylan Devaney, the creative lead for the set, who did an amazing job. So I've been involved with the project for 4 years now. It's wild. I can't believe it's here.
Yeah, I just can't. Right now.
I'll freak it out.
We're both also like lifelong Final Fantasy players.
Yeah,
right?
They've been working on this for 4
Final
years.
Fantasy 7 and 10 lead for the set, who did an amazing job. So I've been involved with the project for 4 years now.
That's wild.
It's wild.
I
can't believe it's here. I just can't.
Right now.
I mean, I guess it makes sense with COVID
I'll
and
freak it
whatnot.
out.
And we're both also like lifelong Final Fantasy players, right? Like I said, Final Fantasy was the first game I ever purchased. I'm even playing
Final Fantasy 7 and 10 are not just my favorite Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy 10 may legitimately be my favorite video game. So it's so good.
All right, well, we're going to talk about all that goodness. So everything you just saw, we're going to go over it. So if you didn't quite pause the screen on what you wanted to see, we're coming back to all of it. Let's
How could you not pause the screen on what you wanted to see?
As a whole.
You just go back.
You know, this is a big deal. This is our first, standard Universes Beyond set. There's a lot going on here. Tell us about the set as a whole.
Yeah, so Magic the Gathering Final.
All right, let's just dissect this first for ourselves. Let's see. Release date June 13th, and that legality all formats. Well, I guess all official formats, right? Because I could make a format where I say, fuck Final Fantasy, we're not playing with Final Fantasy. Okay, anyway. Play boosters, bundle, starter kit, gift bundle, available June 27th, collector boosters, pre-release. So I guess, I mean, this was something I was thinking about today, too, while I was, like, driving. Something that's really difficult for me is like, I'm so used to releases for like Pokemon, where like when Pokemon releases a set, like they'll have different products, right? Where they'll have like different, like, oh, this one comes with like 8 packs, and sometimes they'll release like a different thing with like for a different set that's like really similar, but like maybe it's only like, maybe it's like 9 packs, or maybe it's only like 6 packs or something. But they're all still just like packs. Like they have, it's like, oh well, we have play boosters. Well, did play boost? I guess play boosters just replace draft boosters and set boosters, right? Do they just don't do draft boosters or set boosters anymore? They just do play boosters and collectors boosters. So like a play boosters is just a booster pack. Like whatever. I don't know. It's super confusing to me. It all makes no sense to me. The way that they have all this stuff organized, they just change the way their products like function so frequently. And for me, it's super confusing.
16 mainline games. So if you're a fan of some of the earlier pixel era content, there's absolutely going to be stuff for you.
I'm a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics. We're gonna get any of that. I mean, there's gonna be so much crossover, right? Final Fantasy Tactics has chocobos. It has like the same enemies and stuff. Like,
some of the more modern
nitpick
titles like FF 16, 15, or some of the MMORPGs in 11 and 14. Those are also included in the set. Many of our team members have expertise throughout the history of Final Fantasy. So there were people who were super passionate about making sure we got Final Fantasy V correct and Final Fantasy III correct and the Final Fantasy XIV experience and how that differs from some of the other titles. So we went super, super deep to make sure that we accurately represented each of the mainline games in this. And as part of that, this is one of the largest or biggest design challenges I think we've probably ever had for Magic and for Universes Beyond. So as a kind of self-imposed limitation for the set, the main set specifically is limited to all 16 mainline titles. So for example, Final Fantasy X is in the set. Final Fantasy X unfortunately did not make it. That was a
Final Fantasy X and then Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X 2.
Okay.
The sequel and spin-offs are unfortunately not in. That is just entirely due to the sheer scale of content. You really could have made multiple different sets, but in order for us to get
you're making multiple different sets for like the Marvel stuff. You can do it for Final Fantasy.
And to make sure that we really accurately represented specifically many of the earlier games and the breadth of the entire mainline series, we imposed that design limitation. So that's what the shape of the content for the set will look like.
And there's no shortage of stuff to put in there. And
no, absolutely not.
I really want to go back and stress how important it was to get all of those mainline games represented. As a designer, I almost saw it as like I had my like roster of people, and I was like, okay, I'm making a card for Final Fantasy III. I know who the fan for Final Fantasy III is in the office. I'm gonna go talk to them and chat with them. And because a lot of people have played some Final Fantasy games, but very few people have played every single Final Fantasy game. Right. So kind of knowing who my super fans were for each.
I would find it surprising. Well, I mean, like, I get it. It's like not everyone's played like a Final Fantasy, like every Final Fantasy game. But like, if you're one of the ones who's like, oh yeah, like I like Final Fantasy 1, I feel like you've probably kept up with it. Probably. Maybe that's a big assumption. But especially if you're the type of person who's still like doing this, then I would just guess that's the case. Hey, Sean.
Game in the office.
Did you actually see what really Slitskin does, really or Shitskin, like or whatever the fuck its name was?
Right? We all worked together, like so many people. This wasn't just
I guess
a
I shouldn't say
Shitskin. So many people over the past several years
like
contributing ideas and chipping in and play testing, like to bring this to life and bring that passion and infuse it into the set.
But have you actually like looked at like Slitskin?
Let's talk a little bit about the product lineup, Zakil.
It's like, oh, okay, well, this is just the whole kit and
so once again, this is
okay.
a full tentpole release, which includes an entire 300 plus card standard set.
I was about to say, it's like all of their products have like Terra on them, but that's just because these ones down here there's like the Terra Commander deck, and then the other decks are just behind it. But it's interesting they went with Terra as their cover card for their collector
Those are
boosters.
available in play boosters and collector boosters, as well as our standard offering of bundle and gift bundle. And then alongside the main set, we also have a commander deck release, which has 4
got like lightning here, like trying to sneak up on stuff.
Individual games with the
literally the exact card I want. I mean, yeah, basically.
Also available. For new players, we also have a starter kit that is 100% standard legal. So if you're learning to play Magic and this may be your first introduction,
completely standard legal. So if you want to take this to your LGS and you want to see if you can win,
battle your friends, and then upgrade your deck and take it to your local game store and have a good time.
Oh, so they have to upgrade it. So it's standard legal, but you have to upgrade it. What does that even mean?
For the launch event in June.
All right. Now let's get back to the cards.
Yeah.
All right, fine. You can.
we didn't give chat enough time to properly freak out about each card before we went to the next one. So we're going to spend some time freaking out about these cards. Zakil and Gavin have already been doing so, and they're going to continue doing so. So let's take a look at our first card and our first Chocobo.
Saz's Chocobo. They're finally here.
Yeah, it's time.
We've made a Chocobo card.
God damn it.
So we have a quick graphic here.
Name
for
of
fans
card.
Yes, familiar with
Mana value.
kind of the skeletal
Expansion
mechanical
symbol.
aspect of Magic cards.
Power, toughness.
But as a quick kind of run through, at
no
the top
idea.
of every Magic card, you have the name of the card, the mana value of what it
It's super
costs to
interesting. They
cast
call this
that card,
collector
and as you go,
information.
down towards the bottom
That's
of the
interesting
card,
to me.
your
I've never.
type line calling out what the creature
I
type
guess I did
of
learn
card
something from
type,
this.
and
It's
then
interesting that that's what they call that. I
creature
wouldn't think
type
to call it
related
that.
to that, as well as the expansion symbol, which denotes rarity. Of course, rules text and flavor text, which Gavin will get into in a second. But one very special thing for this set that we've never done before is within the collector information, on the bottom left, on every single card within Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, whether it's main set or commander decks or promo cards or whatever, there is a game identifier. And it has
tells you what Final Fantasy
specific
game
call out
it's
of
from.
which
Got
game
it.
that card is from. This is very useful if you may only be familiar with a couple different games, and if you open up.
That's super useful if you're not familiar with the game. Like, I'm looking at this card. I'm like, I've never played Final Fantasy 13 before. I don't know how this card functions. How does this card work? I've never played Final Fantasy 13.
A pack of cards, you can learn and kind of really dive into the history of, this character's from Final Fantasy 4, or you can see the evolution
I'm just
of many
being
of the
an
creatures.
asshole. Like,
how
it is actually a
Chocobo,
nice thing.
The Chocobo design or the Chocobo model has evolved throughout history. So huge moment.
I want to make sure you say that again. So every card.
But I'll probably
identifies
run this
what
just because
game
it's
Every
cute.
single card in the entire set, both
Maple, where'd you
main
go?
set, commander, and anything related to Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy.
It's actually a pretty fun story how this came about. We were in a play test, and people who were playing who knew some Final Fantasy, but not all of them. And they're like, well, here, who's this? What game is this from? And I was like, oh, that's from Final Fantasy 8. And they looked at another card, and they're like, okay, well, what is this from? Well, that's from Final Fantasy 3. And we were looking at that, and we're like, oh, well, what if we just actually put that? It was actually Zakil's idea. What if we just put that on the card? And
Hello,
I love it. It's like
Gringer 26. I don't know if you're like a Saquon Barkley fan or something. It's like clearly this is like copy and pasted. I appreciate. I mean, if you're a bot, then you're a bot. But if it's copy and pasted, whatever. Appreciate you. Like coming into the chat and like trying to help me out or trying to swindle me. I don't know. The part that I knew that this was not something that was given a lot of thought is that's when you said, I do see you streaming a lot. That is not true.
Like, you get to see the ones that you know and recognize, but also it tells you should go.
But
a
you are
little
correct
deeper, right?
in
Like,
that I am a very good streamer.
I want to go
so
learn more about 8
that.
or 3 or whatever the game might be, and I love that it draws you in a bit to the whole universe of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. I did see a good question in chat on that. Do even the basic lands have that?
Correct. Every single card. Every single
So even the
card.
basic
And now,
lands
if
have
we
like
pull Saz's Chocobo back up for a second, I'll talk a bit about the card
Seems odd to
mechanics.
think they
'cause
wouldn't.
It's pretty exciting. So, of course,
If
Saz's
anything,
Chocobo,
having
one-mana
them on the
Chocobo,
lands
really exciting.
probably
Little baby
makes the
Chocobo,
most
super adorable
sense.
and cute. One thing I'll call out is that the Chocobos in this set have a bit of a landfall theme going on. So while this is the only Chocobo you're going to see today, you can imagine what maybe some other
is
Chocobos
my
might end up doing.
green
So
blue
you'll see
landfall just
plenty
going
of
to
these
become
birds around,
chocobos? Because that
getting bigger
sounds
as you play
amazing.
lands. So you got to run around on your Chocobos. And yeah, this little guy hits hard, really hard, by the way.
Yeah.
So he grows up fast.
So this is like a solid ability. I think there's another one that does pretty much this. Might be a 2-drop instead. I know there's the scythe tooth cub or whatever. What's it called? Scythe claw cub. It's something like that. Scythe cat cub. I mean, this one's kind of similar to it, except it's like way better because it's the second time this ability has resolved this turn. You double the number of 1/1 counters on a target creature. So like, and it is trample, and it starts as 2/2, and is this like to pretend like, oh well, this packs a powerful punch. I'm like, it's cute. It's probably good for like a landfall deck to just get something out on the field turn 1, and every single time you put lands on the field, it'll get bigger. But like, it's definitely not the best at doing this.
All right, let's move on to some other cute cards in the set. Tell us about Tonberry.
Yeah, so Tonberry.
I love this guy. like him in the games. Look at him.
It was a design. It took us a while to get right. You know, I talked to a lot of people what they expected.
He's just in the forest. He's under a tree.
Seeing the set, and of course chocobos and moogles.
Does he need a
all
knife?
That kind of stuff was in there. But Tonberry came up over and over and over again. And one of the things I tried to do in the design of the set was make sure that some of the really iconic stuff showed up at lower rarities. So even if you haven't played all the Final Fantasy games, as you're opening up a booster pack, you're likely to see some things that you recognize, right? And Tonberry was pretty iconic, so I wanted to get it in a common or uncommon.
I'm really curious what the high rarity things are that are that wouldn't be super familiar to people. I'm curious what that meant.
I mean, we worked on the design for a while, and if you don't know,
that was a really
Tonberry,
interesting
comment. That has like this knife and will kind of kill you in one hit, and like slowly follows you around, but will absolutely destroy you if they hit you. And so showing up a little bit slow with that stun counter, and then once they start attacking, first strike, death touch, you are not blocking this thing. Really felt thematic for a Tonberry. And a 1-mana 2/1 creature that basically can't be blocked effectively is a solid.
Yeah, this card actually feels like a really strong card because again, it's a turn 1 card you can play. And I'm speaking mostly for Commander. I don't know what the meta is right now for like Standard and stuff like that. But just being able to get something out turn 1 is usually pretty good because like if it's turn 1, even though it enters tapped, it's kind of like with a stun counter. Like the stun counter on it's not like phenomenal, but like kind of like who cares if you're getting it out so soon in the game.
Solid 1-drop. So.
Then you'll probably be able to get it by the time that it's able to attack. Your opponents might have something, but yeah, I mean again, its ability is first strike and death touch during your turn. So that's pretty great.
Absolutely. All right. Now there are also some new creature types in the set, which we'll see on this next card.
This is adorable. It's what? You can't eat the Moogle.
Tell us about Stiltskin.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Moogle. It's a Final Fantasy set. You know?
Oh, Stiltskin, like Rumpelstiltskin.
So we tried to match,
I get it. It makes sense when I hear someone else say it.
Where we could, but with Moogles, what is it? It's a Moogle. That's what it is. So we, added the new creature type Moogle here. Now I'm a big lover of Final Fantasy IX. That's one of my favorite Final Fantasies. And so one of the great things about your lead designer is you get to put a little bit of a thumb on the scale with what cards show up in the set. And so, of course, every game is well represented. We have tons
black,
for everybody. But I wanted to make sure to get some of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy IX in here, and that's where Stiltskin comes from. And I love this kind of white donate effect. It's a little fresh. It's a little new. Hand them something, get a card back. Really fun in multiplayer, or I don't know, maybe in Standard you hand them a demonic pact for fun. I mean, these kinds of things happen sometimes.
Right, that would be the point, right? To give your opponent a card. Like,
Zakil,
even pretend like the point of this ability isn't to give your opponent something detrimental, and like it's a 1-drop and like a rare. Like, I mean, clearly the idea is to give your opponent something bad. Stop.
So see kind of our first booster fun here with those borderless woodblock cards. Tell us about those.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were going through development, one of the things that we worked on with Square Enix was trying to figure out what are cool, awesome collectible iterations of many of these characters. What can we really do to bring this set to life, feels authentic? And the borderless woodblock art style is one that we did in Neo Kamigawa on the basic lands that were very successful and people love them. And so we brought them here kind of as a nod to the Japanese roots of the Final Fantasy series, and just the beautiful art style that we think just really elevates all of these.
I only think of like one or two, but
okay.
I can't even remember the name of the cards. I just know what the art
now,
looks like.
One of the bigger reactions I saw in chat is for our next card, and bigger is correct.
I believe this is the biggest number ever in the text box of a Black Border Magic card.
So as someone who I've played Final Fantasy VII and dabbled in a couple others, but I'm not super familiar.
S tier.
This was the card. I was looking through the set that caught my eye. It's
so
it's big for Final Fantasy. It's huge for Magic. Tell us about this.
Well, first of all, I think one thing I'll say is, Zakil and I, for the past several years, every time there's like a new Reddit thread or a new, tweet on some social media about talking about what they expect to see in the set, we're always like, ooh, what do we get? What do we get? What do we get? And the Cactuar that gets plus 9999 has been, or plus 99 depending on which version they're talking about, has always been a thing people have suggested.
Yeah.
And so every time Zico and I are like, we got him. You know, we got him on this one. And this card's been there since almost the very beginning.
It's a really interesting decision.
So Cactuar, deals.
I say it's an interesting decision. Like
flavor
flavor-wise, it makes sense.
The Jumbo Cactuar here. This one gets plus
but
9999
I guess,
in the game.
I guess also though, I guess we're gonna play this game, right? Then I guess it is plus 99 whatever. I mean, I guess that means that all the other characters should be doing the amount of damage they normally do in the game, right? Like if a character does 100 damage or 300 damage or whatever it is that character can do, I mean, I guess it's how much damage they should be doing, right? If we're trying to translate it.
It will kill you in one hit. It does have player death touch. Yes, you can fling this at people. Yes, you can give it haste and go bananas. But I love that it really captures
you could fling it at people.
Game mechanic of Final Fantasy in a
wild.
really straightforward way.
I didn't even think of that.
I get it. I understand. And one of the fun things for me...
I mean, I guess if you're going to all the trouble, you probably don't need to. But yeah, you could just make this thing attack and then fling it.
And others on the design team
about
working with a game to make a Magic set out of is there's already a lot of fun game mechanics we could just translate into Magic. And this is one to me of what does it do? It deals 10,000 damage.
It'd be interesting. I don't think they will. It'd be interesting to see if they talk about other games that I mean, the only one that really obviously no, that's not true. There's the two big ones were Fallout and Assassin's Creed, right? It'd be really interesting if they got into how doing those sets prepped them for something like this.
Well,
I don't think they will.
There you go.
I'd be very curious to see how that design played out.
Yeah. So
this card just makes me so happy.
Oh, that's so good.
That's all I want to add.
And
so good.
Yeah, it costs 7 mana, but you will kill people with this, right? In our commander play testing, you would give this haste the turn it comes down. Yep. Lightning Greaves, a great friend of Jumbo Cactuar. You can of course fling it at people. You got to get it to attack, but you can make that happen, right? No problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hope you can make it attack.
No, and I think one of my favorite things about this card is obviously there are tons and tons of Final Fantasy fans out there, but also you can just look at that card and get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10,000 needles. Yep. Okay. It's got 10,000 needles. Got it.
Yes, and of course, we do bring back ability words here. You saw that there. There's a number of ability words throughout the set to convey a bit of extra flavor.
Right.
Or excuse me, flavor words is what they're called. Flavor words to convey a bit of extra flavor.
I was going to say, that's not an ability. That's not a
cool
keyword.
Final Fantasy.
We're not going to put that keyword on a bunch of things now, are we?
Because characters have awesome abilities they use. So let's actually put those on the cards.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got something a bit more serious. Let's take a look at Sin Spira's Punishment.
Yeah, this card seems pretty
I
interesting.
mean, this is the big bad from Final Fantasy X, depending on how you want to frame it, I suppose. But we want to make sure that all your favorite heroes and villains, the big ones from all the main games, are represented here, and Sin is, of course, no exception. Now, I'm not going to spoil the story of Final Fantasy X in case you're not familiar, but making a bunch of copies of things is certainly pretty resonant for what Sin is doing here. And I got to say, man, that borderless woodblock version is awesome. It's just gorgeous. They knocked it out of the park on these.
Absolutely.
I've never played Final Fantasy X, so
really
I don't know.
Different take on kind of a Sultai graveyard commander.
I mean, I think I knew of this character.
Lands,
I don't even want to try. I don't even want to try to pretend like I remember what the story of that game is, or I know what the story of that game is, and I've played that game, so I'm not even going to sit here and be isn't this thing always kind of there in the background or something, and you're it's something's going to happen at some point, or I'm not even going to pretend like I know that's what's going on. Something between it and Yuna, one of them is the something, I don't know.
Through this, but
I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend.
About the approach overall to the art styles and what you wanted to invoke.
Yeah, so much of the booster fun in the set is heavily influenced by various different Japanese art styles. So it's kind of a top-down take on a lot of iconic characters and monsters, creatures that we know people will love. And done in obviously a different way from Magic House style. So of course you see the main set version of the ship going into or battling Sin with the city on top, but seeing the perspective of Sin kind of flying through the sky in this woodblock is absolutely amazing. So
yeah, and how closely did obviously we have our stable of artists. Square has theirs. How closely did we work with Square Enix on all of the art and the artists?
Yeah, so every single piece of art was reviewed by Square Enix. We worked very collaboratively throughout all of development, talking about this is how we want to represent each game, this is the character list that we want to hit on, and we would go back and forth. It was super collaborative of, this is a character that we want to put at a high rarity that we think will be special, and we may send them maybe a list of 2 or 3, and they'll say these 2 are ones that we encourage you to do because of this reason, or we have a really awesome story and maybe you can tie this into design, or maybe this specific characters very important.
Curious, like how much stuff Square Enix shot down. That sort of thing interests me.
Many of the artists that have worked on Final Fantasy throughout their brand history were many of the people who were actually reviewing the artwork. And as we announced, again, Yoshitaka Amano and perhaps maybe a few other artists were also involved in the creative creation of art pieces for the set. So.
It was so cool to work with Square Enix once again, right? They're the people that helped bring this franchise to life and are still working on it now. And a lot of those folks are still there. Like when we went over to Japan to play with them, we got to meet people who worked on some of my favorite games when I was a kid. You know, it's so special. And of course, they've got some huge Magic fans there too, which is part of how we got to bring this to life.
Yeah, the producer on Square side, so the producer on Square side, Soshi Ichikawa, is a lifelong Magic fan, and there's like just a very special moment when we're talking to them about creating something. We finally build this file, we fly over for this playtest, and we're very excited, but of course you're a little nervous of just like, we put so much work into this. What do you think? And they were just beaming as both as Magic fans and as Final Fantasy fans, just really happy with the quality of the designs and the quality of the set. So it is unlike anything I've had the chance to do. It's so awesome.
I remember we have a weekly call with them every week for years where we chat with these folks. And I remember my first time I was on the call, the guy's like, hey, I played 4 pre-releases last weekend. And I'm like, oh, okay, you mean business. Like, you're really a Magic fan. All right, awesome. Let's talk, And they saw all the cards, they gave feedback on some of the designs. It was really amazing, really amazing.
All right, let's get back to talking about the cards. In the video, we revealed 4 double-face cards. So let's take a look at those, and we'll start with Garland. And tell us about how we landed on having double-face cards in the sets and what function they serve.
Yeah, so when I think about Final Fantasy, one of the things that really pioneered in games is kind of the idea of this isn't even my final form, right?
The extended art is interesting because the extended art, like the natural art on the card, kind of also makes it feel like there's a border. Sort of like just the nature of what that art is.
Someone who evolved or changed, and the heroes and
this is good art. This is good art on a card. IMO.
Villains both together go through lots of evolution. And we thought, what better way to represent that than double-face cards? That literally lets you show the evolution of these characters. And Garland, from the very first Final Fantasy game, you see him very early on in the game. You fight him. It's the first boss battle you have in the game, and then he comes back at the end as Chaos. I guess spoilers for Final Fantasy 1. But that's exactly what happens here, right? He's a nice little creature that comes down early. He goes away, and then later on he comes back as Chaos. So you'll see these at all throughout the set in all kinds of ways. Showing off, like I said, heroes and villains, and a couple other things I'll get to in a second. But heroes and villains are kind of the big tentpole for us here.
And then we see that extended art, of course. Extended art is a staple of ours in collector boosters.
But I'll call out, you do that uncommon here, right? So you give it to the legends in the set, which is pretty cool. So if there's an uncommon legend you're excited.
This is gonna bother me now. He's like, oh, that extended arts is one of our staples in like boosters. It's like the collector's boosters, and I'm like, but you can get them out of like normal packs, can't you?
You can get that in extended.
Am I wrong?
Cool. Yeah,
Am I wrong about that?
I don't believe we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let the legends of Final Fantasy shine a little bit. I thought it was a cool idea.
I don't believe we have.
Okay.
That uncommon here, right? So you gave it to the legends in the set, which is pretty cool. So.
Oh, have they ever made a uncommon border or extended border?
There's an uncommon legend you're excited about. You can get that in extended.
Very cool. Yeah, that is. I don't know that we've ever done that before.
I don't believe we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let the legends of Final Fantasy shine a little bit. I thought it was a cool idea.
Every character is someone's favorite character, and we took that very serious throughout development. Just making sure that if you're a super fan of FF1, there's an awesome cool card that you can collect and build a deck around.
So like when reading all these threads, like you get all the characters you would expect every time. There's always like these notes about like, what if this character, this side character, this side character, and really, you're absolutely right. Every character is someone's favorite character. So let's make them awesome for gaming set.
Yeah, at least a few people in chat were pretty stoked to just shout chaos.
You can do that too.
All right, let's see our next double face card, Cecil.
Yeah, speaking
of
like
a chaos ability,
Cecil is a character
that
I was asked for very, very early on when we announced the set. People have wanted this. Many people have guessed double face Cecil, which is perfect for their character's story. And we want to give him a really banging card. So yeah, 1 mana, 2/3. I don't see those stats every day. That eventually then transforms into a 4/4 lifelinker is quite the deal. My idea for this, I was actually inspired by like Death's Shadow decks, which try and deal damage to themselves really quickly. So you can kind of bring your life steal down fast and then flip it in an aggressive deck, or there's all kinds of fun ways you can do this way to play it.
This is a fun
but it's a really cool way of
showing off
the story.
design.
And a card from Final Fantasy 4, which is a favorite among many long-time Final Fantasy players.
Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to Dylan on our.
It'd be interesting to try to make a commander deck out of this. It sounds like he was referencing a specific type. One thing about me when it comes to Magic the Gathering is that I know what cards do when I want to use them for a deck. I don't look up other people's decks. I'm just like, okay, this commander's cool. Let me go on Scryfall and let me just start searching for the terms that I think are going to help me build a decent deck. That's like, there's so many times where like my friends will be talking about me about certain staples. I'm like, I have no idea what that card is. I have no idea what it does. So it sounds like there may already be some sort of like structure in place for like this type of
creative team who he was a Final Fantasy 4 expert. I mean, I played it a long time ago, but he like loved Final Fantasy 4. So this was the card I was like, we have to get this one right. And I would constantly go to Dylan and be like, how about this? How about this? How about this? And eventually we got here, and it's such a perfect mirroring, such a great mirroring, and a pretty sweet card too.
Yeah. All right, and then now the extent we've seen the borderless character cards, Akil. This is the first we're seeing them.
Yeah. So as I previously mentioned, much of the overall collectible strategy and collectible kind of booster fund design in the set is heavily inspired by Japanese culture. You saw the kind of traditional woodblock inspired Japanese artwork on cards like Sin and Stiltskin. Here is more of an anime style artwork done on Cecil with the game title in Roman numerals behind the character. So
that's something that, when we showed it quickly earlier, it's easy to miss. But I think that is a really cool.
All right, that's cool.
So another just awesome, beautiful art style, as well as the extended art here, so you can kind of pick which one you want if you're a super fan of Final Fantasy IV.
I love that it really makes those characters stand out. And one thing I especially love about those early games is, look, I love a lot of early Final Fantasy games. One of the first games I ever purchased, like I said. But it is pixels at the end of the day, and you don't get the characters in as high resolution as you would here. So Magic lets you bring all this to life in this artwork, which is cool. This is a collection.
I mean, like, it's a little disingenuous. I don't know, whatever. I'm gonna say disingenuous. It's a little disingenuous to say that, like, well, now we can finally see what these characters look like not just pixelated. I'm like, okay, I mean, these characters have appeared in other games since then. Like, we know what these characters look like, not just being pixels.
All the games.
Plus, I mean, there's like, when you fought games back in the day, like, they would come with booklets that generally had art.
Our incredible artist pool, drawing these characters and illustrating them and bringing them to life in ways you've never seen before. And so, like, yeah, I played Final Fantasy IV, but Cecil didn't look this awesome. Like, this is so cool to see right here, So I love, especially with the earlier games, bringing that to life. And Final Fantasy IV with Cecil is a very popular character, so it's cool to do that there.
All right, you've mentioned villains a few times. Let's take a look at our next double face card.
Oh yeah.
Quite the story here with this double face card.
Yeah, Emmett Selk. I mean, this is, we showed this art previously, and people flipped out about it. Emmett Selk is a super favorite character from Final Fantasy XIV, and Cameron Williams on my set design team, I have a person for every game. Cameron Williams is a huge Final Fantasy XIV fan.
Yeah.
So much so that the only time I ever see him take vacation is when, like, the new Final Fantasy XIV raid drops, right? He'll, like, go, like, sorry, I can't come to the meetings, I gotta go play Final Fantasy XIV. He's super into it, and he is amazing at his job.
He did so much for the set. He did such an incredible job.
Incredible job. And when it came to 14, he was always my expert, and we had to get Emmett right, absolutely. And so we made a card. This is a pretty awesome card. This is a looter. Okay, it's pretty solid. That turns into Yawgmoth's will on the back side. I'll tell you, if you transform this, you are not going to lose. It's very hard to lose when you transform this. And as it turns out, getting 14 cards in your graveyard, not that hard when you have a lot of self-mill stuff going on.
That's a pretty specific number on getting cards in your graveyard. Was that a tweak from design? Like, where did that come from?
Well, one thing in Final Fantasy 14 is they do a lot of calling out numbers of things that reference Final Fantasy has this across the board. And in 14, there's a lot of 14s. So we put 14 on the card, and I told Play Design, I told Casual Play Design, if we got to change the 14, I'll understand. But if you suggest 13 or 15, you better have a really good reason for changing it to 14. And eventually, it just stepped the whole way through as 14. We play tested it, and actually the feedback I got was weirdly, it was about right. I guess it was right the whole time. So excited for you to play this card because it is, a bit of card selection, really strong, but also just slamming this slate, flipping it on your upkeep, and turning it into Eternal Yawgmoth's Will is quite the magic card. So yeah, Emmett is powerful, and I love, if you go to the next slide here, I love the Borderless character version here. He's like so sassy. You get kind of the other side of Emmett Selk here.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't like this art. This art's cool. I don't like this art.
Part of it is you have the character focused shot on one side,
about it,
more of the kind of environment.
And it probably looks better in person. It looks super pixelated, for one. It probably just looks better in person. The pixelation's really throwing me off. The face doesn't look great to me, but I feel like if it's not pixelated, then it'll correct some of the stuff, like the
one thing
weirdness
cool about having multiple treatments for a lot of these cards is that there are so many stories that a character will tell, and Emmett shows up, of course, in 14 again and again and again. So seeing him in a couple different moments, a couple different places is really cool, and something that I'm stoked we got to do here with these extra treatments.
Now, one thing we haven't spent much time on is the flavor text, but
I will say though, this is good for Square Enix because I do have to say I do want to play these games now.
The same thing he said when you defeat it. So how much attention did the team pay to that sort of moment in the game to pull flavor text?
All of the attention.
Yeah, truly. The spreadsheet.
This is 100% Dylan Devaney, the creative lead for the set. Spent many long hours replaying games, watching playthroughs of games, looking through the dialogue boxes and everything to really pull from, make the set feel authentic. And to really just deliver those fan favorite moments. So, like, again, it was very important for us to get it right. It was very important for Square Enix to get it right, and our team just went all the way.
And once again, everything was reviewed by Square, team by Square. Right? So sometimes they have to suggest them back to us. Try this thing out. So, and then in terms of some Final Fantasy 14 stuff, I know there's all kinds of famous quotes, and we want to make sure to get those on a bunch of cards. So, of course, we can't tell you what they are yet.
Just trust us.
But there are some other really iconic ones in there. So, you take some guesses what those might be. But yeah, we've got some good ones for you.
All right. So the DFCs we've talked about so far have all been characters who transform, but there's another type of DFC.
Yeah. So making the set, we did a lot of playtesting, we were having fun with it. You get all the heroes, all the villains, you get these epic battles, which is a huge part of Final Fantasy. But also, it's not the only part of Final Fantasy. The feedback I kept getting was, okay, I mean, I love this, but in Final Fantasy, it's not just about battling. There's side quests you go on and little mini games, and we get that in the set somehow. And we had these double face cards already. So I was like, what if we turn some of these mini games into double face cards where you get the reward at the end? And I love the idea, and it just stuck. It took a lot of work on iterating on this.
It is a cool idea.
Fishing side
I will say that is an interesting idea.
Together now, we got a fishing mini game. It's actually a good year for fishing mini games between this and fishing rod in the fishing pole foundations.
Yeah.
But there's 5 uncommon mini games. They're all from different games. So I'll let you guess what they might be. But a bit of speculation out there for you. But they all have the side quests on the front side.
All right, what do we think the mini games are? I'm thinking, I mean, we know one's catch a fish, right? One's got to be chocobo racing. I mean, like, some
then
I
on
don't
the
know. We'll just have
backside,
to wait
you
and see.
complete their quest, you get
Some
the reward.
weird
So here, you gotta go
things
fishing,
came into
and
my
you catch
head,
that fish,
but
you eventually get to build your cooking campsite and cook that fish up, which is a lot of fun. And this references, of course, Final Fantasy 15, and I love that food token too. 15 has a very different kind of aesthetic than a lot of their Final Fantasies, and it really shows like, hey, this is a bit of a different game than the other ones, you know. And there's a delicious meal your fish have lent you right there. So yeah, this is a very cool little thing, and I look forward to seeing what your guesses for the 4 other uncommon side quests are.
Yeah. Now, the next card we're going to talk about, I think, is one of the coolest mechanical innovations to show off a part of Final Fantasy. So let's talk a bit about summons.
Yeah, so this is something that Yanni and his team, the Vision Design team, came up with early, and I thought was absolutely brilliant, and a huge new tentpole direction.
Yeah, this is a really good idea for summons.
So summons, if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy, are these characters that you summon to the fight. They are really powerful, they do some cool stuff, and then they kind of make a big move and go away. That's kind of their thing. Now, depending on the game, exactly how that would work might differ a little bit, but that's kind of the gist of summons. And how could we capture that on a Magic card, right? And we tried a lot of things. I know they tried out mechanics like fading or vanishing, but that didn't quite feel right. And so they finally hit on something that was a perfect fit. So let's bring up Shiva here. So these are something you've never seen in Magic before, but are yet a perfect blending, and that is enchantment creature sagas. So what they are is they work exactly like how you would imagine a fusion of the two work. You play it, you do the first chapter right away.
It is a really good idea.
And after the third chapter,
it does sound
they go
weird
away. So you
when
play
you
Shiva
say
here,
it.
you tap one of their creatures. Next turn, you tap another one of their creatures.
Fucking
And then on the
crazy,
third turn,
but
you will
it is a
it's
good
ultimate ability here,
mechanically,
diamond dust, you draw a card for all
or
your points of creatures,
flavorfully, I'll
and the
say,
saga
is a
goes
really
away.
good idea.
There's a lot of pretty fun gameplay and tension here of like, okay, do I want to attack? Do I want to block? If I'm the opponent, do I want to spend a removal spell on this? Because it's going to go away in 2 turns anyway. Do I want them to get their effects? So there's a lot of fun interplay. And I also love a couple cool things here. This is the first time you've seen flavor text on sagas. There's this text box here at the bottom. We got flavor text there. Of course, this is the only one you're seeing today, but that might not be the only text that goes in that little space.
Yeah, I thought about that when he said that there's flavor text down there. That's, oh my god, that sounds so confusing.
And then also, first time we're doing, I think, borderless sagas, isn't that right?
Like,
Nikhil?
Absolutely. First time we've ever done borderless sagas. Of course, that
confusing in a
Woodblock
good
art
way.
style is coming back.
I mean, I'll say I don't mean
One
confusing
other thing I'll
necessarily in a
mention
bad
is
way,
that
but
of all
it's
the summons
just
in
going
the
to be
set,
something
they
like
do
it has like its fucking saga lore ability things here, and then it's going to have like effects down here. Oh
all
god.
rarities. So summons are such a significant portion, or play such a significant role in the DNA of Final Fantasy. You will encounter summons from common to mythic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked earlier about how we wanted to make sure that at lower rarities you saw things that you really recognize. Well, these are things that are pretty common throughout most Final Fantasy games. So this one, even though it's from Final Fantasy X, you could have seen a version of it in so many different games that it's really cool that you get to see this and you might recognize it from whatever game you have seen it.
Well, I mean, that was kind of something that like I was kind of like confused about when they first pointed that out. With like, it's like, oh well, this is like a chocobo. But I guess it's like a specific type of chocobo, right? It's Saz's chocobo or something. Where we're at 46 right now. Yeah, it's just like I was like, okay, well I guess that makes sense. But I was kind of like, I kind of had the same thought of like, well, you've seen chocobos in other games, right?
Of all of the summons in the set, they do appear at all rarities. So summons are such a significant portion, or play such a significant role in the DNA of Final Fantasy. You will encounter summons from common to
wild that I have this going. I had it going at like 1.5 speed, and it still sounded like they were talking really
these things are
slow.
pretty common throughout most Final Fantasy games. So this one, even though it's from Final Fantasy X, you could have seen a version of it in so many different games that it's really cool that you get to see this and you might recognize from whatever game you happen to know Shiva from. Yeah, this is a really incredible mechanic. I cannot wait for you to play with it. It's so much fun to get to play with this new twist on things. And it's funny. We saw someone guess this last week actually on social media, which was crazy. We've been looking at all the threads for ages. No one's ever come close on Saga Creatures, and last week someone got it. So you're that person. Hats off to you. Well done.
All right, so Ezekiel, I want to give you a moment to kind of build up this next part because Through the Ages is an aspect of the set that I think is really special.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were going through development of the set, so much of the creative concepting came from original source material artwork. Right? If you're trying to bring Final Fantasy 1 to really all the way up to really the modern games from 1 to 10, you're looking at a lot of artwork, a lot of very prolific illustrations that have existed for 30 plus years. And of course, that artwork is very recognizable to the Final Fantasy artwork. It's also just amazing, beautiful fantasy illustrations. And about halfway through development, as we're kind of riffing off of, okay, this is the original image and this is what it looks like in Magic house art style, I look out and look at Dylan Devaney and Daniel Holt, and we're just like, we should just put these on cards. Like, people would just love these. So the Final Fantasy Through the Ages bonus sheet is a unique program launching with Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy that takes source material artwork from the original Final Fantasy games of the past 35 plus years and places them on reprints within the Magic universe.
That's a cool way for them to have explained
So
it.
here are 2 cards. The first one from Final Fantasy 1. This is artwork done by Yoshitaka Amano as the Dragon of Mount Gulg as a reprint of Ancient Copper Dragon, as well as Yuki Kisarage as Yuriko the Tiger Shadow from Final Fantasy 7 with artwork done by Tetsuya Nomura.
This card is going to be so fucking crazy expensive, bro.
You can expect concept arts and you can expect Final Fantasy Through the Ages concept artwork too.
I mean, I guess both of these are relative. Like, both of these are pretty expensive cards
for
to
each
be
individual
fair.
game from 1 to 16. And of course, anytime we get to work again with Yoshitaka Amano or Tetsuya Nomura, it's absolutely amazing. I will say that this is kind of Amano is maybe associated with the set in multiple different ways. So it was nice to be able to pick up some of the original concept art and really bring it to life within Magic, and perhaps there's a couple more surprises along the way.
Yeah, and you can play with these cards. It's so fun too because while they are not standard legal, this is a bonus sheet, so they're kind of out of there. You can draft these unlimited, and it's pretty fun to get to throw a haymaker from the top rope down and go, wow, I didn't expect to see this here. Okay, or I didn't expect to get a ninjutsu or whatever. It's pretty cool. So there's a lot of fun to be had with these cards, and they're just gorgeous. Like, we actually got the first ever packs in a couple weeks ago, and just to look through them, which was an amazing day for us. But we got to open some of these up and see what they look like, and they are incredible. And bring that concept art that is so beloved, and the images are so beloved from the games to life on a Magic card. It's just amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so just make sure, I've seen some questions in chat, just to make sure we clarify, the bonus sheet is not legal and standard, but will be be in play boosters, and you can draft it.
Correct. They're in play and collector.
Okay, sorry. I think of Commander and then everything else is standard. Obviously, that's not the case. I'm like, well, if it's not standard legal, then what happens if you draft it? It's like, could you still play it? Like, yes, because limited and standard aren't the same thing. I'm a fucking moron.
Boosters, legal and limited, not legal and standard.
They don't change format legality, but they are awesome. Yes. And there's some weird sideways decks you can definitely draft them. So I'll tell you a story after sets come out about one of the weirdest decks I ever saw drafted.
All right, now let's move into talking about Commander, the Commander designs. There are four Commander decks. You may have seen the.
Yeah, that is curious though, because they do have a character like Yuffie, right? Like, it's interesting that they kind of were like, well, we kind of don't have enough space to keep making new characters, so let's just make them alt arts. I don't know how I feel about
each individual game from one.
It's interesting. I guess I'm curious to see what sort of stuff we're getting in the sets.
So there's a lot of fun behind these cards, and they're just gorgeous. Like, we actually got the first ever packs in a couple weeks ago, and just looked through them, which was an amazing day for us. But we got to open some of these up and see what they look like, and they are incredible. And bringing that concept art that is so beloved, and the images are so beloved from those games to life on a Magic card, it's just amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so just make sure, I'm seeing some questions in chat, just to make sure we clarify. The bonus sheet is not legal and standard, but will be in play boosters, and you can draft it.
Correct. They're in play and collector boosters, legal and limited, not legal and standard.
They don't change format legality, but they are awesome. Yes. And there's some weird
sideways crazy they're in play boosters
I'll tell you a story
too.
after sets come out about one of the weirdest decks I ever saw drafted.
All right,
so
now
what is
let's
the
move
art?
into talking about Commander, the Commander designs. There are four Commander decks. You may have seen.
So are the character ones only ones that are showing up in the collector's boosters, right? Because normally the collector's boosters have some. Well, I guess the collector's boosters, what they normally have is the like.
Check that out and look at the four face cards.
The serialized
talk a little bit
cards.
More about those. So
generally,
let's go deck by deck.
Lately they've gotten to get more like
so
fun.
here is Revival Trance.
Why I say lately? I think like technically the alt foils have been around longer than the serialized cards have, right? Because didn't the serialized cards? I thought they started with Brothers War. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they've been going.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm not good at this. The way they do their products is they just randomly do things every once in a while. They just do something completely different every single time. It's fucking crazy.
We're trying to figure out what we want to do for the 4 decks of Final Fantasy, and we talked about a lot of different things, but the thing that really struck us was let's do them based around different games. Like, let's pick a game and make a different bespoke thing around that game. And so we picked 4 games.
That makes sense, and that is the only way to do it, right? If you'd made like a Cloud Commander and like a Sephiroth Commander, and then another character's like Terra from Final Fantasy VI, and then the other one's like what's her name from Final Fantasy 14, then like that would have felt really strange.
Games represented means all mainline games are, but Commander X picked 4 games to kind of focus on, and one of my favorites, and we're going from Pixel era, is Final Fantasy VI, and of course Terra heading that deck up. Now this is a black, white, red kind of graveyardy deck, and specifically about.
Yeah, I like that art. That art's fucking dope.
Cool thing Daniel did was this focuses on kind of the second part of the game when you're bringing back your whole party, which really makes sense for the kind of graveyardy theme. And that's what Terra's doing here. She's trying to recruit your own whole party. Now, if this is not the Terra you want to play with, don't worry. For these characters, we have other versions of the main set for you. So there's lots of options, but this is the one on the face of the Commander deck, and a pretty cool take on this character, and a really unique way of kind of making the bring back the graveyard meld well with.
Very curious to know how they determine which cards get the borderless character cards. Because they're like, well, don't worry, there's gonna be multiple Terras. It's like, okay. I'm assuming there isn't one of these for every Terra, right?
Final Fantasy, you're bringing stuff back from the art. And they also get these borderless character treatments, right?
Yep, so each of the face commanders gets borderless character card treatments that are available in Collector Booster, as well as the extended art treatment as well. So very, very cool.
Now, I want to linger on something here, because I think it's one of the coolest features of these Commander decks, is, the main set has, all 16 mainline games, but each Commander deck draws from one game, and it's like you're playing just that one game, right?
Yeah, above the land array, right? So land you kind of grab a mix of, from different games, so some repeat across the deck and so on. But if it's a spell, it's themed to that game, which is really cool, right? We got all new artwork for these that all are set in the universe of that game. There's a ton of cool new cards and some new great reprints that I've never faced. So lots of fun was had there. And really, like, when you look at these things, there's like bespoke representation of the game, right? You look at it and it feels like you're holding a bit of Final Fantasy VI's story in your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. It is not to get too romantic. It is very emotional to see many of these decks, specifically the Final Fantasy X one for me, just to relive. The team did such an amazing job just telling the story and reliving just amazing moments from that game.
And once again, like all the games, we always work closely together on this. We're always talking about what we want to do, what games we want to represent, and in case of design, like Daniel Holt led the Commander decks, I led the main set, and we worked really closely to make sure that these characters are very popular. I'll make 4 main set versions of them that are going to be great for the main set. We'll make 4 Commander versions of them that are going to be great for Commander. So it was really great collaboration between the two of us, and I'm really happy with what we came up with.
Now, when these were revealed yesterday, we did get a lot of questions about MTG Arena. Now, typically, Commander cards don't come to Arena, but Final Fantasy is a really special set. People are super stoked that it's going to be on Arena. Zakil, I understand we did something a little different for Commander and Arena this time.
Yep, so all 4 face commanders and the 4 backup commanders for each of the Commander decks, a total of 8 cards, will be available on Arena.
Okay.
So you'll be able to play those online and have a great time.
Great. And you got to get people favorite characters on Arena.
Of course, in addition to the whole main set, of course, will be in Arena as well, so you can go ahead and draft your cards in which I'm excited to do. So.
All right, let's move on to the next deck, surely to be a favorite, Limit Break, featuring Cloud.
Yeah, this is a red, green, white deck full of equipment and trying to get your power up to 7. It's got Cloud on the front. You know him, you love him. It's Cloud from Final Fantasy 7. He's got a huge sword. There are also, as you might imagine, huge swords in the deck to put on your creatures and try to get their powers all the way up to 7, so you can hit kind of that threshold bonus. So another instance of the number 7 game number mattering here. So there's a bit of that going throughout the set. Kind of my line in both Commander main set was let's not do that if it's the wrong design, but if it's the right design, let's do it where we can, right? So there's a bit of that going on, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's the Final Fantasy 7 Commander deck. It's cool. It's amazing. It's the bespoke experience to hold in your hand for Final Fantasy 7 Magic. Yeah, I don't know what I can say other than it's sick. And that Borderless character card is pretty cool version of that too.
Yeah, it's a nice cloud art.
As a reminder, each of the deck does come in 2 versions: the regular commander deck, which has 2 foil face cards, as well as the total 100 card deck, and then the collector commander, which is entirely in a cool collectible surge foil treatment for people who like shiny foil cards.
Wow, who might those be?
Now, my next question from chats goes for any of these commander decks, but obviously it came up here with Cloud. Are we going to see main set versions of these characters as well?
Yeah, I'll say that all 4 of the face commanders for the commander decks have main set versions.
Okay.
One of the cool things that we did with the commander decks is we were able to, because they're entirely bespoke representations of their decks, and the main set only has so many card slots, is we're able to fill some of the other characters that didn't have room in the main set in these commander decks.
Yep.
But the face characters, absolutely. All the face characters will find the versions of in the main set. So if you want another version of Cloud to play around with, don't worry, I got one for you. And it's sick. Let me tell you right now, it's sick.
All right, let's hear about our next deck.
Wait, what was the other? What did he say? Probably Sephiroth, right? Did he say Sephi?
All the face characters will find the versions of in the main set. So
well, and that's the thing is we already know there's another Cloud. They've shown another Cloud.
To play around with, don't worry, I got one for you. And it's sick. Let me tell you right now, it's sick.
Oh, and
all
it's
right,
sick.
Let's hear about our next deck, Counter Blitz.
Yeah, this is the Final Fantasy X commander deck, green, white, and blue, featuring Tidus as the commander there. And the thing I really love here is
Tidus.
You have the sphere.
He called him Tidus. I know. Can you believe it? Maple's not happy.
If you ever played that game, I know you might spend many hours, I know I did, on the screen trying to make sure you can min-max all your abilities and how they work out. And it really kind of feels like you're moving counters around, and it's very fun thing where we figured out that counters and sphere grid kind of have a really nice mashup there. And so as you're kind of like figuring out how to spec your abilities properly, you get to enhance your characters the way you want to. So it's not only like a great flavor.
What? You complain all the time about everything, and you have like the best life in the world. I don't know what's wrong with you.
And really feels like Final Fantasy X, but you will spend a turn there trying to min-max all your counters, just like I was on the sphere screen Final Fantasy X. So it's a very cool take on it, and that was a smart thing Daniel came up with.
I do have to ask because chat is all over this.
Nice.
We've seen a lot of comments on social media.
Are they going to make this some
Blitzball,
comment?
is it represented in the deck?
I will tell you that we know about Blitzball. We love Blitzball. There might be places where Blitzball appears. That is a side quest that was very popular. I mentioned those 5 side quests earlier. Well, who knows? Maybe Blitzball's one of them. Maybe there's multiple Blitzball cards. I'm not going to tell you right now, but yeah, we know some of you just want to go play Blitzball all day. So
I mean, he straight up basically said it was one of the cards.
I know I spent way too long trying to win the Blitzball championship. Beating Sin, who cares? I got to win the league. So yeah, I feel that. Chat.
Zakil, anything to add about this deck or Titus or Blitzball if you want?
So something that I don't like. I don't like that it's like I like this concept for the art, like, but you can't see the act. Like you can't tell. Like you know it's an X because you know he's in Final Fantasy X. Otherwise, you wouldn't know that that's an X. I'm also curious if this is the final art for it. Only reason because is like this is really not readable. Now, like unless you're an idiot, you know it says Titus Yuna's guardian, but like that's because like well, what else word could this be? But like. It's really difficult to see that. I like maybe just like a simple drop shadow or something. Is probably what I would do.
My favorite deck. There's a lot of nothing to add right now. I think as we get a little bit
maybe that makes it look really bad. I don't know.
Closer to debut, this is mechanically this deck.
Or like, because like to me, what's super confusing about it from just like an aesthetic perspective is that when I look at like this, and when I look like normally like on cards where it normally looks like this. Even almost borderless cards, it looks like that. My feeling was always that like this is a placard, right? This is a placard, and on that placard has their name written on it. But like here, it's like, no, the name isn't really written on the placard. The name is like floating above the placard. Like if instead what they did, and they just went all the way into it, which I guess could be really confusing because how could you know for sure what the card's name is other than the fact that like I mean they should probably have some sort of number here identifying exactly what the card is, and you could use that number as like a reference for what the card, like to look up rules there's a number associated with that card. That's probably like too unnecessary, but like I would like it if he was just in front of the placard and he's just like in front of the name, and he's just like you can see Titus Yuna's G, and you just can't see the rest of the word, especially if you're gonna do that with the fucking X on the back. It seems like you sure don't give a fuck. But I would think that would be really cool. That would be a really unique way to do it. Again, you kind of run into the problem that like, well, you need to know what the card's name is in order to reference it. Something tells me this came up in a discussion. But this looks really bad in my opinion, the way that this is set up. Again, like it's not a huge thing. I'm assuming the same thing happened with Cloud, right? It's not as bad with Cloud, but like technically. I mean, I guess because you know with the Belrin font, like I guess you know that this is going to be an R, right? Because it can't be like a B, but like it almost looks like it could say Cloud X Soljib. Like it looks like this could be like a B because the white is just this. It's just the exact same white. It's like it literally. You know, I'd go as far as to say like this is almost technically unreadable because if I referenced this card, I would with my friends I would jokingly say like, okay, so I'm targeting Cloud X Soljib. And I'd want you to tell me, and that person would be like, "Oh, well, I guess you're not targeting this because it's Soldier." It's like, but like, I don't know. I don't like that. That is something that I would say that is bad card art.
I will tell you that we know about Blitzball. We love Blitzball. There might be places where Blitzball appears.
The art, separate from the fact that it's on a card, really nice.
I know I spent way too long trying to win the Blitzball championship. Beating Sin,
with it being on a card, this should be changed.
I feel that, chat.
IMO.
Zakil, anything to add about this deck, or Titus, or Blitzball if you want?
Yeah, Final Fantasy X is my favorite deck. There's a lot of nothing to add right now. I think as we get a little bit closer to debut, this is
I have to look. Do the other because this is obviously super representative of like that side profile art that they did a lot for like a lot of the master sets.
Plays so well. The team did such a great job.
Curious if any of those cards do this.
For now, for another.
Like you have to understand, chat. Me and Zakil could sit in a room talking about these cards for like half a day, and I'm not exaggerating. Like we have stories for every single card. We are a tight knit crew who's worked on the design of these, so it has been pretty amazing.
And you'll probably do that once everything's out.
Yes, almost certainly.
Published a 12-hour podcast.
Yeah, the extended cut.
All right, we've got one more deck to talk about. Let's take a look at Scions and Spellcraft.
Yeah, so Final Fantasy 14, of course, bring that to life here in this deck. And this is something we haven't really seen before. It's an Esper Spellslinger deck, one you cast
very
big
waifu.
spells to try and drain your opponent, or at least a little bit.
Very much will piss off
and it's a great fit for the character once
free
again, right?
MTG.
Get to drain them for a little bit, and then you want to cast spells. So fits Ishtola really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'll just say about Final Fantasy 14, we were very cautious or very conscientious
on, like,
of
Instagram,
making sure that the gameplay experience and
borderless character
kind of identity of Final Fantasy 14 specifically really shine through in this collaboration. A lot of our team members, you had mentioned Cameron earlier, we have like an employee internal Discord of just FF14 players.
I mean, I think I did. I just don't think I got the whole vibe of it.
The FF14 audience here at Wizards really loves FF14 and put a lot of intentionality in these designs. So if you're a fan of that, if you're a massive fan.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it feels here like it works better, but I guess it's just because I find it more readable. Yeah, it's because I find it more readable. That's why I don't have a problem with it. The other one, it's like it just
it's such a massive
feels
game,
harder to read because of the nature of what's there.
You are the hero.
And like plus like better than that. So yeah, you know what I think it is with the Titus art? I mean, and I mean this because I know a lot of people like Titus. I think one of my friend's favorite characters is probably like Titus out of all these characters. And like he's not symmetrical, obviously, because like, you know, he's got like the arm here, he's got like this coming off here, he's got like this hand here, but it feels very, there's something about this that feels symmetrical, especially when you compare him to like Cloud, who I guess it's just because his body's at like 3/4 angle, and then like you have Terra, whose body's like I guess 3/4 angle as well. It just feels more broken up. And something else that helps and is that you can see the background a little bit, which I like a lot. I would also say though that this is pretty not great. And it was something that I noticed. It was like a little surprised at, but I don't know. So I think I liked that art so much, whereas like this art I'm not as much of a fan of. It's still good, but I think that like this is just too distracting. And I think something else, I'm not gonna get over the fact that you can't see the X. Like that bothers me. Because like it's like, okay, this is like and like don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting to be like the most prominent 7 in the world or like the most prominent X in the world, because like that's not what they're doing. Although like I do sort of question, oh, they're putting it to where it's in this space where it's still above this. Oh, because it's white. That's why. I bet you they tried it before, but when they had this as being white and they had it behind the text, I bet you some of the text wasn't legible. Maybe. No. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to play around with it. I've had to make proxies and stuff before in like Photoshop, so I could probably easily just put something white behind like the text and see how legible that would be. Probably not super legible, but like it would be just as legible, if not more legible than this, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get like this looks so bad. Again, on Cloud, it's
social media
more or less fine. I don't like all of it, but it's that one's more or less fine. I would agree on Terra. even though I like this art, I think the most, I would agree that like that's not great. And then for Ishtola,
it's such a massive game, and there isn't like necessarily one.
This one's probably the best one.
Main hero, right?
But it's because her colors are so dark that like none of them are. Even like her hair, I'm not familiar with this character, but it looks like her hair is supposed to be white, right? But like the way that they colorize her here, it's like, oh well, it's more like a lavender here. So like it's get like white on the lavender. It's like it's going to at least look different. It's not gonna be the same color.
You are the hero. That it was a really fun design exercise to figure out where you want to pull everything from. And yeah, I can't wait to show you how we represented it all. But this deck is full of ways to show it off. So you'll get to see it all when the deck comes out.
All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. We've got.
I also heard that they were all sold out, which sucks because like after seeing those arts, I don't know. Maybe I'll just buy the. I mean, obviously that's gonna be the most expensive card in the thing, but. I do like these. My friend mentioned he liked them a lot. I also like them quite a bit. If I were to get all of them though, like it would be I would have to display them, or I'd have to like keep them, like I wouldn't be able to play them, which like I mean it's like like I say it's obvious for me. Even like the really expensive like rarities and versions of cards, I like playing with them because in my mind all of these are just like game pieces. I feel like with how expensive these cards are going to be, like I feel like I would have to just display them. I feel like I really would not, and it kind of like they're so jarring that it would kind of almost be weird to play with them.
Players, like the FF14 audience, Hero Wizards really
I say that there's some
FF14
jarring
in these designs.
secret layer drops out there. So
if you're a fan of that, if you're a massive fan of FF14, just trust us. We got some stuff cooking.
Yeah, and I think especially what's interesting is it's such a massive game, and there isn't like necessarily one main hero, right? Because you are the hero. That it was a really fun design exercise to figure out where you wanted to pull everything from. And yeah, I can't wait to show you how we represented it all. But this deck is full of ways to show it off. So you'll get to see it all when the deck comes out.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left. We've got one more thing to show. I was debating whether we do a Q&A because they have to be very tight-lipped right now. There's so much they want to say and so much they can't, and I'm afraid of opening that floodgate. We're gonna do it. We're gonna give about maybe 5 minutes for a Q&A, which we'll do after we show this next thing. If you have a question, it helps me find it if you tag @Magic first. I will ask the question. There's no guarantee we'll be able to answer it. Maybe they'll give wink, wink, nod, nod hints. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll do it a little Q&A, just a touch of Q&A. Before we do that, we had mentioned the starter kit earlier. Let's take a closer look at the starter kit.
So yeah, this is the starter kit for Magic Final Fantasy. Very obviously, you're going to pick 2 characters from the franchise right here.
Come on and learn how to play Magic. Here's Sephiroth Cloud. Battle. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
One quick note before we get into the designs. The entire starter kit, again, is standard legal. So if you're a new player coming into Magic, you can purchase this, battle your friends, open up some packs, upgrade your deck, and go to your local game store and start to learn competitive play.
Yeah, and I'll say that the Sephiroth Cloud are in the starter kit. There are once again versions of both these characters in the main set as well. So there are these are standard legal, but there are other ones in the main set where you go play. With that said, this Sephiroth is not messing around, especially. Like it comes in, minus all your opponent's creatures, and then gets big. It's like a
this is a really good ability.
Not messing around, but there are other versions of Cloud Sephiroth in the main set. So stay tuned. I guess I'll say stay tuned.
All right.
And like again, like this was like a Voltron card, like is also pretty good too.
See what questions we can dodge. All right. Let's start here. Do the borderless cards come in non-foil?
Yes.
Great.
Boom,
one question, and we answered it. You kind of talked about this earlier, but how long did this set take to develop start to finish?
4 years, I think, in total. The entire collaboration is closer to 5. The development is just about 4.
A long time.
Long time. I mean, yeah, you had to stop and play the games and then play them again. You might as well have. Yeah.
One of the things that we had mentioned earlier, so this was the first
I mean, one of the things you have to mention is that fucking COVID happened.
Collaboration set we've ever made that was simultaneously built in English and in Japanese. So as we're going through development, as we're developing our creative text and really identifying things, all of our working development files we would create in English and then be translated to Japanese and shared with Square Enix. And we traveled to Tokyo. I think the team went 4 different times for playtesting, all kinds of different workshops, world building stuff. So it's been quite a 4-year experience.
Also, one thing that was pretty cool is I'll tell you a lot has happened in the past 4 years. But one thing that definitely happened is a new Final Fantasy game came out.
Right.
So it was fun to get to work with Square to incorporate that game into the set as well. So you didn't see any for 16 today, but 16 is in there, and that was a fun little collaborative exercise too.
All right, you mentioned the pixel era a few times, Gavin. Will there be pixel art on cards?
That's a really good question.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Stay tuned. The answer to that's gotta be yes. I just assumed that the answer was yes. Especially if he's wearing this shirt, it feels like the answer to that is yes.
Some of the answers may be like that. That's okay. All right. There's okay. Actually, let's look here. Any content from the remake trilogy?
It's a great question. So for Final Fantasy VII, the main narrative story that we are telling is focused on the original game. There are some nods to remake and rebirth in things like costuming or kind of scene landscape updates, but canonically we are not telling the story of remake or rebirth in this product, as well as you will not see things like Crisis Core, Advent Children. The main focus is on the original games with a couple
Interesting.
nods to costuming, which just helps in terms of.
I don't know enough about Final Fantasy VII. I assumed that the Final Fantasy VII remakes were the same story, just told like via different gameplay or something.
As you were
but
trying to adapt pixel and kind of low count polygon designs into high fantasy illustrations.
Okay. There are a ton of questions. Please tell me this is in the set. My favorite is blink aggressively if there's a Buster Sword. Thanks, Gavin.
I'll say this. That's a lot of questions.
Yes.
If it is super obvious is probably in the set. There's a good chance. It is your favorite hero, your favorite villain from one of the main 16 games, your favorite item. There's a very, very, very good chance it is in the set.
Yeah, I would say, just as a reminder, everyone who worked on the set is a lifelong fan of Final Fantasy, so we were very, very intentional about making sure that many of the characters from throughout the entire series are represented.
Yeah,
yeah, that's another thing, right? Like, I think me and Alex sort of like talked about this too. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's going to be there are things that they have to include, right? Like, now it does kind of get weird though, because it's like, well, of course they're gonna have Yuffie, but it's like, well, Yuffie's like a alt art for Yuriko. It's like, well, that makes sense from like the way that she works perspective. I don't know enough about Yuffie to know if she's like a commander type to have like to be like a leader. Like, I just haven't played that. Well, I have played that game, but I haven't gotten past like the first 20 minutes of it. So I don't know enough about Yuffie as like a character. Maybe 100% that does fit, whatever. But like, it would be a little deflating if like my favorite character was like not, if it was just like an alt art for another card. That would just feel a little like,
maybe there's one or two left on the sidelines, maybe, but like all the main characters should be. The rest has a little bit of like all the main heroes and villains to look at, and plenty of side characters too. And with the commander decks, like I said, you can blow out the side characters even more, right? It's like, okay, we don't have room for this person in the main set, but because Final 7 is huge, we get to put this character in the commander deck. So tons and tons of room for stuff.
All right, can you share the sort of ratio of new cards to reprints in the commander decks?
Not today.
Okay, I'm glad because you answered for me.
What was the question?
Let's see, what can to reprints in the commander decks?
Not.
That is a good question though.
Share the sort of ratio of new cards to reprints in the commander decks.
Not today.
Okay, I'm glad because you answered for me. I was just going to tell you.
Let's see, what can we answer?
Not today.
Okay.
He speaks really fast.
Glad Ezekiel answered for me. I was just going to tell you.
Let's see what.
It's interesting. It's not something I would have considered, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I guess, I'm like, do they know that number just like off the top of their head? Like, I guess they would.
What can we answer? Here's an interesting development question, Gavin. We could probably spend a long time on this, but so Standard has changed a lot over the last 4 years. How difficult was it to keep this set in line with Standard over that time frame?
Yeah, I mean, this set went through all of our normal Standard playtesting rigor. We had our whole play design team play it. We balanced it with Standard in mind. We put a lot of energy and work into making it.
Yeah, like I said, there's obviously a lot more to discuss there. So is the implication that ever since this was being developed, they knew it was going to be a Standard set? I mean, they probably did. I can't imagine them making a set this large if it's being as large as they're saying it is and not having it Standard legal. That would be wild.
Standard and all other formats too, right? This is legal everywhere, so there's shots for a lot of different places that.
I like I said, I like playing Commander. I don't want things to focus on Commander. Focus on everything else. And the point of Commander is like it's supposed to be scrappy. Like the point of Commander is like, well, I have to use 100 cards, which compared to like other decks where other formats that aren't singleton, right, where you're running like a 60 card deck, 40 card decks. 40 is Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So 60 card deck. Where you're running a 60 card deck and you're allowed to have 3 of like each card, and half your deck is fucking lands anyway. Like, you know, you're not having a lot of variety in there. But when you're told you have to have 100 different cards in your deck, well, except for like lands, obviously, basic lands, that forces you to like make really scrappy things. I personally don't like when they start designing cards specifically for Commander, unless they're like, maybe if they just design a Commander, but I don't want them to design cards for that Commander. Because I want the community to have to be creative enough to come up with solutions for that. But I think I'm in the minority there. So.
And then Limited, we also drafted it a ton. It's a really fun Limited experience in my opinion. Obviously, I am incredibly biased, so take that as you will.
That doesn't sound good. It sounds like it's an awful Limited experience.
Oh,
which sort of like makes sense because I can't imagine that these decks were sort of like designed with that in mind. If I had to get, like, if it was just the way that I would think about a way a Final Fantasy set would work, it'd be like, okay, well, it's gonna be a lot of RPG mechanics. There's gonna be a lot of like equipment and things like that. So like, yeah, I mean, if you just pull a Cloud and you have like this Voltron-esque commander that benefits just from things being equipped to him, I would imagine that would be the best card to run. And if you pull that, you just win. Like that would be my thought. I can't
wait. I know when it comes out on Arena, I'm gonna just be jamming draft after draft after draft. So I cannot wait for you to all be able to check it out that way. But yeah, we put.
As another thing, I wonder if that's true, right? You've been working on this set for 5 years, and all you've been doing is playing with those cards, and you just want to continue to keep playing with them. Like that's like, I don't know. Don't you want to know what your like neighbors down the fucking block are? It's like, oh, like let's check out Duskmourn.
We put all of our normal energy and intention. It wasn't like we took any shortcuts. Like, we put all the energy we wanted to into this to make sure it would be the best set possible.
All right, we are just about out of time. We'll go with one last question. Will there be any secret layers?
I can confirm there will be.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
There we go.
Are there any other little products hiding around the corner people might be surprised about?
I don't know.
Okay, well, fair enough.
It's a secret.
That's all we're going to say.
Well, then the answer is yes, right? Well, the answer is like, the reason the answer is yes is because he even bothered to ask, right? Like.
All right, we are just about.
Oh, duh. Like, of course there's going to be secret layers. There's going to be, like, the pixel art thing is going to be, like, a secret layer. The art from what's his name is going to be there, too, as a secret layer. That's what the secret layers are going to be.
Thank you
would
for
be my guess.
Tuning in to this first look at Final Fantasy. We are obviously going to be chomping at the bit to come back and share more. We're going to tie Zakil down and keep him from making public appearances until the time is right.
Can't catch me!
That time is going to be June 13th. So the global release for Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy is June 13th. The debut will obviously be before that. We will share more information on when you can learn more about the Final Fantasy set as we get a little bit closer, so stay tuned for more information. Now, as many people in chat pointed out, there are pre-orders for this available now, today, this morning, and so we can throw the product shots back up there. There's not going to be a show next week or the week after for Weekly MTG because we are going to be traveling to MagicCon Chicago this weekend. We'll have the preview panel on Friday. Lots of new information there. Nothing on Final Fantasy. This is Final Fantasy is here today. This is what we shared. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you.
Why would you even say this then?
Information there. Nothing on Final Fantasy. This is Con Chicago this weekend. We'll have the preview panel on Friday. Lots of new information.
It's like, we'll have the preview panel on Friday. There'll be a bunch of new information, none of it Final Fantasy related. Like, okay, so it's going to be about Tarkir, but it just feels weird to even mention that then. Like, why aren't you mentioning any of the other stuff at MagicCon? Okay, that was weird.
There, nothing on Final Fantasy. This is Final Fantasy is here today. This is what we shared. We hope you enjoyed it, and
I'm so
we will
confused.
see you in a couple weeks.
Okay. Overall, thought it was a pretty good showing. We'll just have to sort of see what comes out. I do like the character arts. I think they're, I think overall they're good. I don't know if they're done well for a card art. The art itself is pretty good, but we're just gonna have to wait and see how everything goes. Yeah, I'm gonna sort of call it there. I was trying to get some stuff hooked up so I could play some games and stuff like that, but every single time I order something, it either gets delayed or canceled, or there's something about my equipment where I need to order something else or something. So hopefully I'll be able to start playing games tomorrow that I want to play, but we'll just have to see. Yeah, thanks everyone who came in to watch. That's pretty much all I was going to do today, at least with my limited things for me. Yeah, thanks everyone who joined, and I will